A taste of silk ribbon embroidery. Recently, we brought out a little kit, which is a taster and an introduction to the art of silk ribbon embroidery. It's one of my favorite techniques. I've been doing it for nearly 30 years now, and it never fails to bring me lots of joy as I stitch. You cover ground far more quickly with silk ribbon than you do with thread, so that's one of the advantages of it. So in these times when we're all working from home, I thought I'd had requests from customers asking me if I could do a little film clip so they could see how the actual embroidery is done. The little kit we've put together contains a set of instructions with color photographs. I'll put that by for the moment. A piece of fabric on which you're going to stitch your design, a set of needles inside a case, and some silk ribbons and a few embroidery threads at the bottom that you will work with. Initially, to start with, you need to get your design onto your fabric, and we do that by means of tracing it. So if you open your instructions and you turn to the back page, you will see that you have 4 different designs that I've put up there, but you can sketch your own if you want to. They all work on the same principle and involve the same stitches. So you would take your piece of paper, your pattern, and tape it up against a window is your best bet. Then place your fabric on top of it and make sure you center the design underneath, and then lightly trace with a pencil or with I've got a crayon embroidery pencil as well. Either one will do. Once you've traced the design, you will land up with, let's just move that out the way, you will land up with a piece of fabric with the design on it, and then you will tack those 2 layers together. So for the tacking or basting, we use just regular machine sewing thread. I haven't put a knot in the end. I start on one side and I'm going to tack through the middle horizontally and vertically. Start off with using a back stitch, and then we tack to the other side. This does not have to be a work of art. It's merely to baste the 2 layers together. The layer at the back is a layer of fine muslin, cotton muslin, and this gives you support for your silk ribbon embroidery. I use it for all my embroidery. So when you get to the end, you would merely finish off with another back stitch and then cut off your thread. And what you're aiming to do is land up with something that looks like that. So your horizontal and your vertical, and then 2 diagonals on a small piece. That's the technique I use there. Once you've done that, you would place your embroidery into a hoop, as I have here. I've already got it in the hoop. If I just remove it and show you, for those of you who've never worked with a hoop before, I've bound my inner ring. The inner ring goes underneath, and your embroidery hoop is placed on the top. Push it over and screw it and make sure that it's tight. And you can use a screwdriver, just a little flathead, and tighten it. And you want that embroidery to be as tight as possible in your frame. There you go, so that it sounds like a drum when you hit it. Right, so you'll notice I've drawn three roses. You can add more if you like as you're working along, and there are a number of little rosebuds and leaves to complete your piece. The rose technique that we use for this one is called a woven rose. It's a basic, simple rose, probably the most elementary of all of them. It's worked over spokes. So we're going to be working with silk ribbon, and we're going to be working with thread. To start off with, so I want to come up behind the work. I do a couple of back stitches into my muslin so that the thread is secure and I don't have any knots that will get into the way as I'm stitching. And then you're going to work, just put my glasses on, you are going to work from the outer edge to the center, and you're going to stitch 5 spokes. If you look at what I'm stitching, I'm actually stitching the letter Y. So in this way, it enables me to do 5 spokes that are evenly spaced. So there's my letter Y, and then come up in between those 2 wider gaps and do another 2 spokes, always back into the same hole in the center. Now when I'm embroidering, I would normally just simply carry onto that one and onto that one, traveling at the back, because the threads will be covered as you're working with all your stitches. However, because I'm just demonstrating a single rose, I will simply end off now. Again, end off into the back of the muslin only, and make sure that you end off well. There's nothing worse than stitching, and as you're weaving, your thread comes undone at the back. So I've ended that off and simply cut it off. Now your silk ribbon comes in meter long lengths in the pack. For any work that you're doing, we work with the silk ribbon, we work with a 10 to 12 inch length of ribbon. So I would cut my meter or yard into 3, and that will give me the correct length with which to work. The needles we work with are called chenille needles. Now they're exactly the same as a tapestry needle, but they've got a sharp point, so they create a hole in the fabric for you. To thread up as you would for a regular, I'm going to take my finer needle, sorry for that. I thread up with by inserting it through. Because it's pure silk, it tends to slip out of the eye of the needle. So what we do is take the point of the needle, insert into the ribbon so that it's like that, and pull and lock on. There is a diagram of that in your instructions. Take that out the way. Just take this to the side. Right, so what we're going to be doing here, this is 4mm silk ribbon, and it's your common width. We're going to be coming up in between any 2 spokes in the center of the rose. So at the back, I would go through the fabric, sorry, through the muslin only, not through the top, and then insert my needle back through the silk ribbon, coming up as close as I can to the center. Let's just see if I've caught it, and you can do that. You can pull and it's locked. It won't move now. So I've gone back through. I'll repeat that with the green, maybe a bit easier to see. Now you'll notice this is quite difficult to pull through. I'm using a finer needle here. This is the thin one, what I call the one that I use for weaving only. It's a size 24. It doesn't create a big enough hole to pull the ribbon through. That's why you battle pulling it through. But for weaving, it's the perfect size. Now you'll see I'm in the middle. I have 5 spokes, so I'm going to be weaving over, under, over, under. By virtue of the fact that it's an odd number, each time I come around, it's going to be opposite to the previous. So over that spoke, under that spoke, over and under. I'd already stitched the stem before I started with just 2 strands of stranded cotton and using stem stitch. So the first 2 times I go around, I pull quite tight. So what I want to be doing here is covering the actual thread in the center. You don't want that visible. Once you've done that, now I start to loosen up, and I give the ribbon a little bit of a twist. So just roll it in your finger and twist over that one, under that one. Now I'm very gentle, and you'll see the rose starts to form quite quickly. Just don't pull. So over that one, under that one, and you just keep on working until all those pencil lines are hidden, or in this case color crayon. Give it another little twist until the spokes are all covered and you like your shape. So you'll see now that the rose is starting to form already. So there, over there. Give it another little twist. The most common error here is to pull it too tight, and then you lose the lovely whorls. So over, under. I'm getting to a stage now where virtually all the spokes are covered. If you want to fiddle, just use the back end of the needle. Don't use the point because you tend to snag the ribbon. And under. And you can see now I'm starting to get a nice shape for my rose. Perhaps just do a couple more because I can still see a spoke. Under there. Under there. And then I'm going to take it down to the back because I think I've finished my shape. So just give it a twist, take it through to the back. If you wanted to carry on stitching with this one, what you would do is cut it off like that. And then I would thread up with my number 20, which is your needle that you use for most of your ribbon work. Rethread, insert, and lock it on. So what I'm going to do just nearby is a couple of French knots, just to show you how you can form a little bud. 1, 2, in. Hold it there with the left hand if you're right-handed, or opposite if you're left-handed, then hold it with your right hand and just gently pull through, and it gives you a little bud. Notice this is quite random. I just want to show you how you do the French knot and in. Now you'll see I'm running out of ribbon and unable to now twist it in. So what I do is cut it off like that, do my 2 wraps in, and this is the fiddly bit, rethread. This is just so that you don't waste ribbon. It always helps to cut it at a 45-degree angle. And then you can thread quite easily. And then just pull that through to the back. To end off, I would simply thread that silk ribbon back into the needle and just feed it under a few of the stitches gently. Ease that through. I'm being very tight twisted here. I don't want to waste the ribbon. Just fiddle, cut it off. That's all I've wasted is 1/2 inch. And remove the needle that's tucked into the back. And then I've got my rose there. Again, as I repeat, always fiddle using the back end of the needle. You notice I wove with the back end of the needle as well. In order to do the rose leaves, I would take a green. I've cut some pieces here. Let me find. Take this dark one. Thread up. Insert into the end of the needle. There. Pull and lock on. For the back, I'm going to do a few leaves here first. So I want to come up, I always pop the needle through from the top. So if I want to come up here, for example, I look to the back and it would have made a little hole there. So just pick up the muslin like that. So I'm not going through the top, there's nothing to show. And then insert your needle back through the middle. Check that it's locked. And I'm right next to my stem. Now this is inverted stab stitch or ribbon stitch. Come through, I take the side of my needle and just open up the ribbon so it's got a bit of loft. Don't pull, just relax your tension. Insert the needle slap bang into the middle of the ribbon and pull until it forms a little point. Notice I'm using my nail to form the leaf. I can come across here, so I'm working always from the stem and I work away from myself. So insert there, pull, and sometimes I use another needle just to hold it there and pull like that, just gently, and you get that lovely point there. If you were wanting to work a petal or a calyx, I should say, around your little bud, now instead of working to the middle, I would work to the side. So I'm going to do one to the left and one to the right, and I'm going to enter there. So instead of entering in the middle, I'm entering right on the outside, the left side there, and just gently pull and do one to the right. And this time, because it's on the right, I enter the right. This is what we call side ribbon stitch. So when it was entered to the middle, it was ribbon stitch. When it's entered to the side, it's side ribbon stitch. You can use another needle or a laying tool, which you won't have as a beginner. I use a laying tool, but I'm just showing you how easy it is with another needle. And just gently pull until it disappears. Use your thumbnail, pull from behind, and then I've got just the weeniest little bud popping out, which you should be able to see there. And so I would carry on working leaves and buds. So there's a leaf again. I'll repeat, insert, pull through. If you find you inadvertently pull too hard, sometimes you can use the back of your needle and open it up, but invariably you don't get a nice shape. Just simply come up again at the bottom, and you're going to do a stitch over that leaf. That's no good. So that will act as padding. So insert again there, and I've worked over it. Just gently pull to a point you can't see it at all. Right, so I'm going to end this off by going gently underneath there, taking a pair of scissors and cutting it off. And now I'm going to show you how to do a little rose bud. Just get the right needle. This is actually on a 24 in order to do a rose. So I'm just going to cut it off and then insert it into a number 20. There, thread, lock on. Now I'm going to do a little bud on my stem, a bigger bud than just one French knot. So I want to come up just somewhere there next to the stem. So pull it through, insert into there. That's perfect. Come up. Now I'm going to make a bud by doing an inverted stab stitch, and you can see I've given it a little bit what I call loft at the base. So to there. And then I'm going to do one to the right and one to the left. So come up at the bottom. Just make sure, I always make sure I haven't pierced this piece that's hanging at the back. Now I'm going to do one to the left and one to the right. So there, pop one to the left. And then come back down to the bottom. So in other words, it's the same as what I did around the little French knot. And then one to the right. So I'm pulling it there. And I've created the little bud. And you see you get a lovely three-dimensional effect. Now you see how quickly I've done that. It's taken me 10 minutes maybe, max. You can finish a little spray like this in a couple of hours quite easily. So I hope that's given you some inspiration to try your hand at what for some may appear to be daunting. But silk ribbon is just a lovely, gentle discipline. It's easy on the eye. The needles are large. So get stuck in and try your hand at it. Thank you.